This is Villa View. Coming up, Matt Kendrick's end of season review. Hello and welcome to the last Villa View of the season. I'm Andy Walker and I'm joined in the studio today by our man at the Villa, Matt Kendrick. Welcome, Matt.
Hello.
Well, Matt, before we get started on your end of season review, quick look back at the weekend. You were at Villa Park on Sunday for what was ultimately a disappointing end to the season. What did you make of it?
Well, I think the season finished the way it started, didn't it really? Obviously, it was that grim, disappointing defeat to Wigan, and then it finished with a grim, disappointing defeat to another Lancashire team, Blackburn. Villa didn't do too badly in between, but it was a bit of a disappointing kind of anticlimax to sign off on, really.
Mm-hmm. And following that final day defeat to Blackburn, we had the chance to catch up with Villa star and World Cup hopeful Stephen Warnock.
People can say Liverpool have been poor this season, but then you can say that the league's been stronger and we've done very well. There's different ways of looking at it. I think we've had a fantastic season. Liverpool have probably struggled a little bit with form. Everton had a great surge at the end of the season, probably started poorly, but I think over the course of the season we've been consistently very good.
And obviously now that the season is over, the big talking point among Villa fans is going to be who's likely to be coming into the club, who's likely to be going. When do you envisage developments to actually start happening?
Well, there's the chairman, Randy Lerner, has met with Martin O'Neill again, we're led to believe, and he's due to speak to the press today. So that'll give us hopefully once and for all confirmation that Martin O'Neill is staying, which seems to be the case. After that, if Martin O'Neill is still in position, he's going to have to do a fair bit of wheeling and dealing. I think he's admitted that there may be several of his fringe players leave the club. He's also admitted that Villa need to strengthen to keep pace with the likes of Man City and Spurs and the rest of the formerly established Big Four. So I expect it to be a busy summer. I don't really expect a great deal to happen before the World Cup. It's normally O'Neill's way where he kind of takes his time over these things, and we often don't see things materialise until the transfer deadline on August the 31st. Now, I don't expect it to be that late this summer, because I think there's going to be so much business that needs to happen that it can't be that late. But I do think that most of it will happen the other side of the World Cup.
Okay. We've got 4 topics to look at for the end of season review, but before we start on them, in a nutshell, how would you sum up how Villa season's gone? I
think steady progress has probably got to be the best way of summing it up. They finished 6th for the 3rd year running, so looking at that, it perhaps seems like they've stood still, but the fact they have eclipsed last season's points total, and they've got their best points per game total since 1993 when they finished runners-up in the Premier League, suggests that they are moving forward still. Okay,
first of all, I mean, from your point, what was the high point of the season? Maybe a specific match, or
I think it'd probably be the 6-4 against Blackburn in the second leg of the Carling Cup semi-final. I mean, first of all, it's just a bizarre, remarkable game. It's more like a game of basketball than a game of football. So many goals, but what it signalled as well, it signalled that Villa were back at Wembley after such a long wait, and you only had to look at the kind of joyous scenes of the kind of good-natured pitch invasion that followed that result, and that created a real buzz of excitement. So that would probably be the one highlight for me.
And the low point of the season?
I mean, I'm going to steer away from the kind of the cup finals and the cup semi-finals and say probably the combination of the Wolves and Sunderland results in the space of 3 or 4 days at Villa Park. Their failure to win both of those games against, with all due respect, opposition you'd expect to beat at home, were kind of the defining points of the season in that it summed up that Villa struggled to break down teams at home. Taking 2 points out of those games rather than 6 was a costly 4 points, which would have put them a lot closer to finishing that in that kind of magical 4th place. Obviously, the Wolves game as well, some of the fans voiced their frustrations because they realised that was a big one, perhaps one of the ones that got away. So those scenes as well, when there was a little bit of tension at Villa Park, that was perhaps the major low point of the season.
So now, what was your goal of the season?
It's a difficult one because in print I've already said that the goal of the season was Richard Dunn's header against Manchester City. Not for the fact that it was a spectacular goal, just because what it symbolised. It showed that Barry had gone. I think, if I remember rightly, I think Dunn actually out-jumped Barry to score the goal. And it was just a kind of changing of the guard, really. It was showing that, you might have taken our best player, but we've got a pretty good one off you. And his dignified response, the way he refused to celebrate it, because he's still got a lot of affection for Manchester City. I just thought that was a nice moment. Yeah. In terms of spectacular goals, I think Villa got it right. I think they awarded Milner goal of the season for his belter against Sunderland in the league win up there. I've got to agree with that because to me it showed James Milner's conversion into a goal-scoring midfielder when he can pick balls up and smash them into the top corner like that. So I'm a little bit split between those two for different reasons.
Okay, and player of the season?
Again, it's an awkward one. I did a piece at the weekend saying it was James Collins. That was because I think he arrived and people thought, well, what have we signed James Collins for? And I think there's a lot of people, including me, who underestimated how good a defender this lad was. He's come in, he's shone, he's formed a formidable partnership with Richard Dunn at centre-half, and I'm perhaps a little bit biased sometimes how players come across off the pitch, and he's as good as gold. Obviously people know him through his tweeting on his Twitter account, and I just think he's an all-round good guy. Highly commended. Richard Dunn, like I said before, has been brilliant, proved to be one of the bargains of the season. And James Milner he's just the rising star of English football. So Villa can count on 3, 4, 5, 6 very good individual players this season who have kind of all contributed towards a good team ethic.
Okay, Matt. Well, thanks for joining us this season in what has been a somewhat mixed season for Villa, and thank you for watching all season. And be sure to stay logged on to birminghammail.net and sundaymercury.net to keep a track on all the developments at Villa Park. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.